The night my sister-in-law locked me in the basement during Christmas Eve dinner in 1991, I was 7 months pregnant with twins. I could hear everyone laughing upstairs while I sat in the freezing dark, bleeding from where I had fallen down the stairs. But let me start from the beginning, because you need to understand how a woman with a college degree and a promising career ended up trapped in that house with those people for nearly a decade. I met my husband David at a company picnic in the summer of 1983. I was 27 years old, working as a junior accountant at a textile manufacturing company in Charlotte, North Carolina. I had worked hard to get there. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, and I was proud of what I had accomplished. David was 32, a sales manager at the same company, and he seemed like a dream come true. He was charming, successful, and he treated me like I was the most special woman in the world. Our first date was dinner at a French restaurant downtown. He ordered wine, pulled out my chair, and spent the entire evening asking about my life, my dreams, my goals. He told me I was brilliant. He told me I was beautiful. He told me he had never met anyone like me. By the end of the night, I was already falling for him. What I did not know then was that David came as a package deal. His older sister, Evelyn, had been living with him since their parents died in a car accident 5 years earlier. She had never married, never moved out, and she made it very clear from the moment I met her that she did not approve of me. The first time I went to David's house for dinner, Evelyn looked me up and down like I was something she had found on the bottom of her shoe. She asked where I had gone to school, and when I told her I had attended a state university on scholarship, she raised an eyebrow and said, "How nice that they give opportunities to people from less fortunate backgrounds." David laughed it off. He told me Evelyn was just protective. He told me she had practically raised him after their parents died. He told me once she got to know me, she would love me just as much as he did. I wanted to believe him. I was so in love. I was so blind. We got married in April of 1984, a beautiful ceremony at a historic church, followed by a reception at the country club where David's family had been members for 3 generations. Evelyn had insisted on planning everything. She chose my dress, my flowers, even the food. When I tried to suggest alternatives, David would get this look on his face, this disappointed look, and he would say, "Linda, Evelyn has been looking forward to this her whole life. Can you please just let her have this?" So I let her have it. I let her have all of it. And I told myself it was just the wedding, that once we were married, things would be different. After the wedding, David and I moved into his family home, a large Victorian house that had been in his family for 4 generations. Evelyn, of course, stayed. David said it made sense because the house was too big for just 2 people. He said Evelyn had nowhere else to go. He said she would help me with the housework since I was still working full-time. I agreed because I loved him, and I wanted to make him happy. The first time I saw who David really was happened about 3 months into our marriage. I had been promoted at work, a big promotion that came with a significant raise. I was so excited to tell him. I rushed home and found him in the living room with Evelyn, having their evening cocktails. "David, I got the promotion," I said, barely able to contain my joy. "I am going to be the senior accountant for the entire southeastern region." I expected him to be proud. I expected him to hug me, congratulate me, maybe suggest we go out to celebrate. Instead, his face went cold. "And who is going to take care of this house while you are off playing career woman?" Evelyn smirked behind her glass. "I told you, David. These modern women, they do not understand what it means to be a wife." I stood there, stunned. "But David, this is what I have been working toward for years. You knew I wanted this." He stood up and walked toward me. His eyes were hard, unfamiliar. "What I know is that I married you, expecting you to be a proper wife. I did not marry you so you could prioritize your job over this family." I took the promotion anyway. It was the first and last time I defied him. The punishment came in small ways at first, silent treatments that lasted for days. Criticism about every meal I cooked, every piece of clothing I wore, every word I said. Evelyn seemed to take particular pleasure in pointing out my failures. "The roast is dry, the floors are dusty. A real wife would not let her husband come home to such a mess." By the end of our first year of marriage, I had quit my job. David said my salary was not worth the stress it caused. He said we did not need the money anyway. He said I should focus on being a homemaker and learning from Evelyn how to properly run a household. I cried for a week after I handed in my resignation. That job had been my identity, my independence, my proof that I was worth something. Without it, I was nothing but David's wife. And that was exactly what he wanted. My parents died within 6 months of each other in 1986. My father had a stroke in March, and my mother, who had been battling cancer, seemed to give up after he was gone. She passed in September. I was devastated. They had been my rock, my support system, my connection to who I used to be before I became David's wife. David did not let me attend my mother's funeral. He said I had been too emotional after my father's death. He said it would be embarrassing for him if I made a scene. He said funerals were depressing anyway and I should just move on. Evelyn agreed. She said dwelling on the dead was morbid and unhealthy. I inherited my parents' small house and their modest savings. David had me sign everything over to him within a month. He said it was for tax purposes. He said he would handle all the finances so I did not have to worry. By the time I realized what had happened, everything was in his name. I had no money of my own, no property, no safety net. I was completely trapped. The first time David hit me was in the spring of 1987. I had burned the roast. It was a small thing, a minor mistake, but David had invited his boss over for dinner, and he was humiliated. After the guests left, he followed me into the kitchen where I was cleaning up. He did not say a word. He just backhanded me across the face so hard that I fell against the counter and split my lip. I stood there with blood dripping down my chin, too shocked to speak. David looked at me with disgust. "Clean yourself up. You look pathetic." Then he walked out of the room like nothing had happened. I should have left that night. I know that now. But where would I have gone? My parents were dead. I had lost touch with all my friends because David did not like me socializing without him. I had no job, no money, no skills that were still relevant after 3 years out of the workforce. And part of me, the part that still remembered the charming man from the company picnic, believed it was a one-time thing. I believed if I just tried harder, cooked better, kept the house cleaner, he would go back to being the man I fell in love with. But that man had never really existed. He was just a mask David wore until he had me exactly where he wanted me. The violence escalated slowly over the next few years. David learned to hit me where the bruises would not show. He learned that threatening to have me committed to a psychiatric hospital was even more effective than physical violence. He learned that I would do anything, endure anything, to avoid being locked away somewhere and losing what little freedom I had left. And Evelyn watched it all. She saw the bruises I tried to hide. She heard the things David said to me. She never intervened. If anything, she encouraged him. She would point out my failures to him, knowing it would set him off. She would smile at me the morning after a beating, asking sweetly if I had slept well. I know now that Evelyn hated me because I had taken her brother away from her. In her twisted mind, she had been the woman of that house, the one who took care of David, the one who mattered. When I came along, she became nothing more than the spinster sister-in-law, and she made me pay for that every single day. In the summer of 1991, I discovered I was pregnant. I had not planned it. David and I barely had a relationship anymore beyond his demands and my compliance. But the pregnancy test was positive, and I felt something I had not felt in years: hope. I thought maybe a baby would change things. Maybe David would soften when he became a father. Maybe Evelyn would finally accept me as part of the family. I was wrong. David was furious when I told him. He said I had done it on purpose to trap him. He said a baby would ruin everything. He said I was too stupid to be a mother. Evelyn suggested that maybe the pregnancy was a mistake I should take care of before it was too late. But I refused. For the first time in years, I refused. This baby was mine, and I was going to protect it no matter what. My pregnancy was difficult from the start. I was sick constantly, exhausted all the time, and I had to do everything alone. David would not take me to doctor appointments. He said he was too busy with work. He said I was exaggerating my symptoms for attention. At my 5-month checkup, the doctor discovered I was carrying twins, 2 babies, 2 miracles growing inside me despite everything. I cried when I saw them on the ultrasound, 2 tiny heartbeats, 2 tiny futures. When I told David about the twins, he did not say a word. He just looked at me with something that might have been hatred, then walked out of the room. Evelyn said having twins was unlucky, that there was something unnatural about it. Which brings me back to that Christmas Eve in 1991. Evelyn had insisted on hosting the holiday dinner at our house. She had invited David's business associates, their wives, and several prominent members of the community. She said it was important for David's career. She said I needed to stay upstairs in my room because no one wanted to see a woman in my condition waddling around ruining the aesthetic of her party. I was 7 months pregnant with twins. I was exhausted, swollen, and I had not eaten since breakfast because Evelyn had forbidden me from entering the kitchen while she was preparing. Around 7 in the evening, I could not take the hunger anymore. I waited until I heard everyone laughing in the dining room, then I crept downstairs to find something to eat. I was in the kitchen, trying to quietly make myself a sandwich, when Evelyn appeared in the doorway. "What do you think you are doing?" Her voice was ice. "I am hungry, Evelyn. I just need something small. Please." She walked toward me, her heels clicking on the tile floor. "I told you to stay upstairs. Do you not understand simple instructions? I am pregnant with twins. I cannot go without food for 12 hours. Surely you can understand that." Something in her eyes changed. She grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly strong for such a thin woman. "You do not belong here. You never did. David should have listened to me when I told him not to marry you. Let go of me." But she did not let go. Instead, she dragged me toward the basement door. I tried to pull away, but I was off balance from the pregnancy, and she was determined. "You want food? There is plenty of food in the basement." She opened the door. "Evelyn, no, please. The stairs are steep. I could fall." She looked at me with pure hatred. "Then I suggest you hold on tight." She pushed me. I grabbed for the railing, but my hands were wet from making the sandwich. I missed. I tumbled down those steep wooden stairs, trying desperately to protect my belly, hitting my back and my arms and my head on the way down. I landed at the bottom in a heap. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. I felt something wet spreading beneath me, and I knew, even before I looked, that I was bleeding. "Evelyn!" I screamed. "Help me! Something is wrong! The babies!" The basement door slammed shut. I heard the lock click into place. I lay there in the dark, bleeding on the cold cement floor, listening to the muffled sounds of laughter and conversation above me. I screamed until my voice gave out. I pounded on the floor. No one came. I do not know how long I lay there. It felt like hours. I drifted in and out of consciousness, my hands pressed against my belly, praying that my babies were still alive. It was the housekeeper who found me. Martha was a quiet woman who had worked for David's family for decades. She had come down to get wine from the basement storage, and when she could not open the door, she got the spare key. When she saw me lying in a pool of blood at the bottom of the stairs, she screamed loud enough to stop the party upstairs. The ambulance arrived within minutes. The paramedics loaded me onto a stretcher while I clutched my belly, praying that my babies were still fighting. David rode with me to the hospital. Suddenly concerned, suddenly attentive, he held my hand and told the paramedics that I had wandered downstairs despite being told to rest. He said I must have gotten disoriented and fallen. He said it was tragic but not surprising given how clumsy I had been throughout the pregnancy. I wanted to scream the truth. I wanted to tell them his sister had pushed me. I wanted to tell them about the years of abuse, the isolation, the imprisonment. But David was right there, his hand squeezing mine just a little too hard, his eyes warning me to keep quiet. At the hospital, I was rushed into surgery. The placenta had partially torn away from the uterine wall. The doctors were fighting to save not just my babies but my life. When I woke up, I was in a hospital room. Machines beeped around me, an IV dripped into my arm, and sitting beside my bed was a woman I had never seen before. She was in her 50s, with silver-streaked hair and reading glasses pushed up on her head. She was wearing regular clothes, not a hospital uniform. "Who are you?" My voice was barely a whisper. "My name is Dr. Helen Patterson. I am a psychiatrist who consults with the hospital, and I need to talk to you about how you ended up here." I felt my heart start to race. David had threatened so many times to have me committed. Was this it? Was he finally making good on that threat? I fell, I said automatically. I fell down the stairs. Dr. Patterson nodded slowly. That is what your husband said, but the pattern of your injuries suggests something different. You have defensive wounds on your arms consistent with trying to protect yourself during a fall. Your bruises indicate you were pushed, not that you simply lost your balance. I could not speak. Tears started streaming down my face. Linda, she said gently, I have been doing this work for 20 years. I know what domestic violence looks like, and I know what fear looks like. I have seen both in you. You do not understand. If I say anything, he will have me locked away. He has threatened it for years. His sister will back up whatever he says. Everyone believes them. Everyone thinks they are wonderful people. Dr. Patterson leaned forward. Your husband and his sister are in the waiting room right now, putting on quite a performance for the staff. But here is what they do not know. Martha, your housekeeper, told the police that she found the basement door locked from the outside. She also told them this is not the first time she has seen you injured. My heart stopped. Martha said that? She is ready to testify if necessary. She has been documenting what she has seen for the past 2 years. She has photographs of bruises, written notes of things she has witnessed, even a recording of your sister-in-law threatening you. She has been waiting for an opportunity to help you, and she believes this is it. I could not process what I was hearing. Martha, the quiet housekeeper who barely spoke to me, had been building a case all this time? Why would she do that? Dr. Patterson's eyes softened. Because 30 years ago, Martha was in a situation very similar to yours. Someone helped her escape. She has been waiting for the chance to pay that forward. She pulled her chair closer. Linda, your babies survived. They are in the NICU being monitored, but they are stable. You are alive, and right now, you have a choice to make. You can go back to that house with your husband and his sister, and things will continue exactly as they have been. Or you can let us help you build a new life for yourself and your children. I thought about my babies in the NICU, fighting for their lives. I thought about my parents, who had died never knowing the hell I was living in. I thought about the woman I used to be, the one with dreams and goals and a future. What do I need to do? Dr. Patterson smiled. You need to tell the truth, and you need to trust that there are people who will believe you. Over the next 3 days, I told my story to the police, to social workers, to lawyers. Martha provided her evidence. Medical records from my years of suspicious injuries were gathered. Neighbors who had witnessed concerning behavior were interviewed. David was arrested on Christmas Day. Evelyn was arrested 2 days later. The charges included assault, unlawful imprisonment, and endangering the welfare of an unborn child. David denied everything, of course. He said I was mentally unstable. He said I had made up the entire story for attention. He said Martha was a disgruntled employee who was trying to extort the family. But the evidence was overwhelming. And for the first time in 8 years, people believed me instead of him. My twins were born in February of 1992, 6 weeks early but healthy. I named them Hope and Grace. Hope because that was what they represented. Grace because I had found it when I needed it most. The divorce was finalized later that year. I got sole custody of the girls. David got supervised visitation and mandatory counseling, which he attended exactly twice before giving up. Evelyn was banned from any contact with me or my children. I wish I could tell you that was the end of it, that David and Evelyn disappeared and we lived happily ever after. But healing does not work that way. For years, I struggled. I had nightmares. I flinched at loud noises. I had panic attacks in grocery stores. But I also went to therapy. I rebuilt my career. I made friends. I learned to trust again. Slowly, carefully. Martha and I stayed close until she passed away 5 years ago. I was with her at the end. I held her hand and told her that she had saved 3 lives that Christmas Eve, and that her legacy would live on through my daughters. Hope grew up to be a social worker who specializes in domestic violence cases. Grace became a prosecutor who has put countless abusers behind bars. Together, they have helped more women than I could ever count. David died in 2015, alone in a nursing home. His mind had deteriorated from early-onset dementia, and Evelyn, who was his only family, refused to visit him. She said she did not want to watch her brother die. The truth was, She blamed him for everything that went wrong in her life after the trial. Evelyn is still alive, as far as I know. She is in her 80s now, living in a small apartment somewhere in Florida. She never married, never had children, never found the happiness she was so determined to steal from me. I am 72 years old now. I live in a small house with a garden full of roses, just like my mother used to have. My granddaughters think I am the bravest woman in the world. My friends call me their inspiration. I have a peace that I never thought possible. If you are watching this, and you are in a situation like I was, I want you to hear me. I know it feels impossible to leave. I know you think no one will believe you. I know you are scared and exhausted and broken down to almost nothing. But you are not nothing. You are a survivor in progress. And there are people out there who will help you, who will believe you, who will fight for you. Sometimes that help comes from unexpected places. For me, it was a quiet housekeeper who had been watching and waiting and building a case for years. For you, it might be a teacher, a doctor, a neighbor, a stranger who recognizes the look in your eyes. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They will listen. They will believe you. They will help you make a plan. You deserve a life without fear. You deserve a home where you feel safe. You deserve to watch your children grow up without witnessing violence. And you can have all of that. I promise you, it will not be easy. Leaving is the hardest thing you will ever do. But staying is harder. Staying costs you pieces of yourself that you cannot get back. Staying teaches your children that this is what love looks like. I stayed for 8 years. I lost my career, my independence, my sense of self. I almost lost my life and my children, but I found my way out. And 30 years later, I am still here, still standing, still grateful for every single day. My name is Linda Marie Hawkins. I was a victim for 8 years, but I have been a survivor for more than 30. And if I can do it, so can you. Your story does not end in that basement, in that hospital, in that house where you feel trapped. Your story ends wherever you decide it ends. And if you decide it ends with you walking out that door and never looking back, then that is exactly what will happen. You just have to take that first step. You just have to reach for the help that is waiting for you. You just have to believe that you deserve better. Because you do. I promise you, you do. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. We share stories like this every week because we believe that every survivor deserves to have their voice heard. And if you know someone who might need to hear this message, please share this video with them. You never know whose life you might help save. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And remember, no matter what you are going through, you are stronger than you think. You just have to believe it.